Piacere.
Plaisir.
Enchanté.
Enchanté.
I'm super happy we meet.
Yeah.
You know, because I think, of course, I do music, do a lot of stuff, but I think food is an art that I really appreciate. You know, and I'm a big lover of food, and we are here in Italy, and you know, I live in Milano for maybe 1 or 2 years, and I love the food here. You know, especially for a French guy saying we prefer the food in Italy. You know,
Tricky.
But you know what? I think there is a big art in the food and in the way of presenting, the way of receiving people, of course, the way of cooking. That is your expertise. But you know, I'm very curious about this discussion we're going to have today.
Yeah.
Because I think, like, you know, something's going to happen. You know?
Absolutely. And yeah, everything. I mean, what is reality, right? And reality, like at the basics, it's one of the biggest questions, right? It's what we perceive through our senses. And eventually, which is interesting, like food is not considered an art form. It's not considered a high art form, where we consider the high art forms as being something that goes through our eyes, right? Cinema, painting, etc. Dance even goes through your eyes, and what you hear, right? And there's the kind of, we live in a world where we're dominated by visual and auditory stimuli. And even though I love art in all its extent and how it inspires you, it uplifts you, it teaches you, it provokes you, and I couldn't live without music. I mean, we can live without music, but we can't live without food, right? And that's the only art that is actually biologically needed, but it's not considered an art form, which is kind of weird. But I guess that's, you know, a little intro to what I do. I work with food as a medium, and I started as a chef about 15, 16 years ago, as a cook rather, because chef means chief, chef in French, right? Chef de cuisine. I dislike the fact that we talk about the profession as a title, right? It's like you study business school and then you become a CEO. No, that's not how it works, right? You study business school and then you get to being a CEO. In food, it's like you don't start being a chef, right? You are a cook by default, a food technician, and that's what I started doing.
Same as DJ.
Yeah, right? Yeah, interesting. And so I started there as a cook, but then I started exploring food as a medium to convey ideas, to provoke, to evoke, to connect with people's emotions. And I mean, food is central in our lives as humans, right? We are humans because we started cooking. That's the theory or the hypothesis rather, of Richard Brangham from Harvard University. He says that it is actually through the technology of fire as a technology, that we're able to process, to pre-digest foods and available resources and nutrients in our environment in order to develop bigger brains and smaller guts, and basically triggering our evolution as humans happens around a fire. And so yeah, cooking is that medium, and I was working in a restaurant, and it's a tough job. I ended up going out and saying, like, I want to express my love for food in a way that is free from the business model of the restaurant, in a way. So started with artists, playing around, and then I ended up doing research in experimental psychology after a few years of exploration with kind of translating with different art forms, right? Like a musician getting inspired by a smell of food, a visual artist painting with food, and etc. And so that took me to studying the intersection of our senses, or how our senses combine and interact to generate our experiences. As I was working in academia, right, and I'm so grateful for academia and for all the people I met there, and there's a limitation to what we can do through academia. I did publish a few papers in scientific journals, but I was like, wait a minute, we're facing one of the most important turning points in our planet, an existential crisis. I remember seeing a professor at Oxford saying, hey, climate change, this and that, and we're basically running to the cliff. And I was like, why is nobody talking about this? And he was also saying that 1/3 of global carbon emissions were the way we eat. And my mind was blown. This was 2013. I was like, why are people not talking about this? And so immediately I was like, okay, I'm a cook. I'm also an experimental psychologist in training, and a curious mind, and an artist at heart. What can be done to shift mindsets and consciousness around the importance and how central food is in our lives. As you said, you know, like food is the source of joy, it's a source of life, it's a source of connection to self, to others, and to nature. And so, yeah, I guess that's, in a nutshell, why I became a food educator and an activist around food.
And there is one other point that I love in what you say is, what is reality? You know? And I guess nowadays, we are more and more facing, people are scared, you know, for many reasons about the transition we're going to have at the moment. I see a bit the butterfly, you know, the butterfly image, you know. We are in a cocoon, we were in a cocoon, and we are now escaping, you know. And we are it's a transition between what we could say a one-dimensional world, and the reality, the physical reality, to a multi-dimensional world.
To be honest, like you mentioned, like we're morphing out of a certain humanity or certain meaning of what it means to be human to another, and that's truly what it feels like, and it's a painful birth. The last 100 years have brought technological advancement, of industrial advancement, have brought a lot of freedom on one hand and a lot of suffering on the other. And I don't know, like the decision is like, are we birthing something where there is no suffering in this world? Because we can eventually. I mean, accident and suffering, I mean, pain is inevitable, right? But suffering is a choice. And it's a choice that we make as humans. And so when we think about, at least the way I see food is, or even, you know, artistic expression, as the duty to address some of the deep-rooted injustices in our world, and especially food, because it's producing 1/3 of, you know, global carbon emissions. We have 1 billion people who are suffering from eating too much, 1 billion who doesn't eat enough, 1 billion roughly who is malnourished, so has enough, but it's not the right type of food. And we're not teaching food at schools, even though it's one of the basic things, right? That's kind of, I think, my mission is just like to try to make us awaken to the fact that if we don't educate around food, we're going to be disconnected from the earth and from each other.
I totally agree. Rewriting this, we can also explain what's going to happen in the future and decide what we can do, especially for artists, for all artists who are looking at us today and watching us today, and all the young maybe are thinking what we're going to do in the future. It's a fantastic period to create. It's a fantastic period to experiment, to invent things. I do a lot of things in the NFT sphere. I think a lot of people are speaking from far or close experience with NFTs. I did a lot, and I just did one. I think it was interesting to share this with you today, and maybe we can exchange about this. It was a project 30 minutes from Paris. It's a hemp field, so hemp is the marijuana cuisine, you know? It's
great for fiber, great for, I mean, anything. You can make clothes with it. It's
not
really
good for. It's not good to be high, but it's good for many things. So this hemp field, so we decided to put probes under the floor at minus 15 and minus 25 centimeters. And we collect the data for like maybe 3 months. And from this, we started to do an interface where we can listen 24/24, 7/7, the language and the sound of this hemp field. It's a huge hemp field. So if you connect, you can actually listen to what's happening in this hemp, in this field. And there is this connection with the living that it's helped by this augmented intelligence that I think very interesting.
You know, I really appreciate what you share around augmented intelligence, because it gives a sense of responsibility and agency. Noam Chomsky says that you know, technology is like a hammer. You can use it to build a house, or you can use it to break somebody's head, right? It's not technology that will dictate if it's good or bad. It's human spirit who dictates, right? It's your intent as a human being who dictates that. And in connecting with, right, you're a creator, like you're creating this sounds to connect people to hemp. I mean, it's such an important plant, medicinal plant, who brings, it's an incredible resource, but if we commoditize, we are literally prostituting nature. We're disconnecting from her, we're just, you know, using her for her resource, not necessarily for everything else that she brings, which is, you know, enchantment, which is magical in a way, right? If we translate, and then through the art we translate. And I just want to say something here that, you know, my life has been changed when my life was changed when I was able to step full-time into being a creator. And that was thanks, you know, through the Patreon platform and my Patreon community, who really kind of basically gave me permission to focus on my mission, which is food education and activism, right? And having all these resources around us.
I just did a track, the name is What If Earth Will Turn Faster? You know, because like, you know, as you say, we don't want to be trained to work and to be a worker and to collaborate with this endless expansion, endless growth that, of course, we can see all the damage every day. And so I was thinking, if Earth will turn faster, it would be even maybe worse, you know? The process of this track was this idea of where we're gonna stop. As a DJ, you know, of course I'm doing this for 20 years, so I'm a bit used to what is the fact of touring, of traveling, and I'm saying this, you know, with, if I was a young artist, I would love to play everywhere, every week, 3-4 times a week, non-stop, endless tour. And today, you know, I'm thinking really, my responsibility actually is to play less. Not because I don't like it anymore, not because I don't like to be on stage. I love to be on stage, you know, I did my release party last weekend. It was fantastic emotion. But I feel like we don't need to play 4 times a year in every city. That we need to, I mean, for my generation, I'm not speaking for a young artist who is starting and he needs to tour and he needs to be everywhere, you know, but for the one like me who are touring for such a long time, I mean, we get to this moment where we should think, okay, maybe we can step down a bit and do a bit less here and there and a bit more focus about sustainability for everyone, you know. So I take less the planes and, I mean, as much as I can, you know. But I think it's important to feel about this.
Yeah, finding the purpose, right? It's also maturity and the wisdom that comes with age, I guess. I'm not saying that you're old now, sorry. You started.
You're right.
I mean, I think this is the thing that scares me most, is to think that technology is going to solve it for us.
No, of course not.
Right?
When you work with AI, you can see that it's the same, I think, where, you know, the photographers started. The painter was saying, come on, photographers, this is not art. The photo, it will replace it, and this is shit. We can see today you can paint and you can do a photo, and both are considered as art. And it's the same with AI. I think it's only the way you use it, because it's not you put something in an augmented intelligence or artificial intelligence that something gonna happen. You know, there is always this human choice, this human picking, because in AI, you know, you can have a lot of chaos. And it's easy to release something average, not very interesting, but you need the grace, and this grace, of course, coming from a lot of training, a lot of time on it. There is always this moment where let's say the artistic choice is important. And I don't think it will replace. I'm not scared about this. It's not a question of replacement. We're adding layers. So we're gonna still have the same layers, but we're adding few ones.
Okay. I want to make you try something very special. Something that I brought from the Colombian Amazon.
Oh my God, I'm scared.
Why? The Amazon is the source of some of the most magical foods and medicinal, plants and things.
No, so I'm not scared about Amazonia, but I'm scared what I'm seeing inside.
Yeah, so this is ants.
Oh yes.
For me. And these are some of the most delicious ants. Have you ever eaten insects?
Not yet, but I want to enroll for Survivor, so...
Right, so this is actually from the Murui Muina community in La Chorrera in Amazon. And they use this as a condiment. Smell? What does it smell like?
It smells good, actually.
Yeah, right?
Strawberry.
Smells of... It's a very... I mean, I'm not going to bias you. Just go for it and taste some.
So, should I take one?
Oh, 2 or 3.
2 or 3?
Crunchy.
Okay, I take...
No. Great.
It's actually very good.
Yeah, it's amazing. And they smell like citronelle, you know, like lemongrass.
Actually, I really like it. It's really good.
Yeah, imagine with a tiny bit of salt or like... Can
I have a beer, please?
Yeah, right?
It's really good.
Yeah. and sky's future. The present.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Then you have
Lasts a lot.
Then you have lots of legs in your mouth. Yeah, you just go.
They will live in my mouth for a few years?
No, just between the teeth, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure to meet you. And you know, something I take away from this conversation is the responsibility we have as humans in general, but also in each of our individual, purpose and creation power to basically shape the world we want to live in. Like, the dream that we know is possible for the next generation. And it's like a huge responsibility right now. And I know, like, the way you're translating music, from a plant into something that can help people kind of, tune into a different state. It's so special.
Thank you so much. But we have been a bit serious during all this talk. And I want to say we should all dance more. Oh, yeah. Because the body, because we were in a talk with the mind, and I think the body is as important. Mm. And life is yours.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure.